Hi everybody, Dugraz here with Dugraz Nostalgia. I took a solar eclipse trip in April of 2024 to southern Illinois. I went to the town of Zeigler, which is a small town. It has a nice circle drive right in the middle, and that's where I saw the solar eclipse. This video is going to be a breakdown of where I went and some things I did, where I stayed. This is not a video about me watching the solar eclipse, and I'm not a photographer that has special eclipse equipment, so if you're hoping to see that, wrong video for you, but I will have a link down below to my actual live stream of the solar eclipse over on Dugraz Reports. So Zeigler is a town that I pulled into, and I told my viewers over on Dugraz Reports that I will meet them at a park bench at a specific time near the water tower, and I arrived with about a half hour to spare. There were no viewers present, just me, but as promised, I did live stream it, and I'll show you a few images from around the park area here. Obviously, a picture of me standing with the town water tower in the background, me being closer. The whole town, or not the whole town, but in the middle of town, they have a circle drive, so the park in the middle of town is a circle. It doesn't have a name as far as I know. But the monument is dedicated to miners, and I appeared because there used to be a lot of coal mining in this area. Just some of the cool older buildings around the edge of town. The sun is in the top right hand corner here. A little further to the right, almost facing south, is where the eclipse would be. Now this is my best attempt to get a picture. It's basically holding one of those eclipse viewing glasses in front of my cell phone camera while I took a picture, and it doesn't really, do the trick per se, but this was the one and only shot that I got showing that I was trying to view the eclipse. That was before it went to totality. Here's a little video of me describing what I'm doing. It was more of a warm-up video. 5, 4, 3. Hi everybody, Dugraz here with Dugraz Reports, reporting live from Zeigler, Illinois, as promised, to view the total solar eclipse. This is April 8th, 2024. I should have taken a picture of the bench where I sat and my setup. Unfortunately, that clip you just watched is the only one I have of my viewing location, but you can, again, check the live stream link in the description box here. The photo showing now is a couple of the townspeople who came out to view the eclipse in front of some of the businesses. Before we leave Zeigler, I'll give you a quick look at what the circular aspect of driving around the middle of town is like. It's called Circle Street, around that city park in the middle. I do have a full video of driving with Dugraz and Zeigler, and I'll put a link to that video in the description box as well if you want to see 20 plus minutes of driving around town. We'll wind down this driving shot in just a moment here. Just waiting for the circle to complete so you can see the entirety of the loop. I'll talk a little bit about how I got there. So I live in the area around Des Moines, Iowa, and to drive from Des Moines to Zeigler is almost an 8-hour drive with no stops, which means realistically, we're talking probably 10 or so hours with stops. And I couldn't get a hotel in the path of totality anyway. I thought about flying into St. Louis. There was no rental cars available, so it was a driving situation. I did rent a car on the evening of April 7th, that's a Sunday, and drove to Alton, Illinois. I was able to get a Hampton Inn there. You can see Alton on the map is just above St. Louis. It's a suburb, but it's on the Illinois side of the river. I'll show you a little bit about that Hampton Inn. Dugraz here with Dugraz Reports. I'm at the Hampton Inn, St. Louis, Alton, Illinois. Just staying for the night and wanted to show you my room. Well, 2 nights actually. Place to work on the computer. They did give me a free bottle of Coca-Cola. Can of Coca-Cola, that was nice. And we got 2 queen beds. They did not have any kings available on points. It's a basic room, nothing particularly fancy about it, but it's very clean and looks very new and nice. It was a pretty standard Hampton Inn. Breakfast was good. The facilities were good, very clean. The only thing that was slightly disappointing is the mattress was a touch uncomfortable. Not terrible, but not the best I've ever had either. One interesting thing is there was an outlet in the microwave, so of course I plugged my computer into it just because I could. An exterior shot here, it was directly behind a Burger King. I did not stop at the Burger King. It's also within easy walking distance of the Amtrak station in Alton. So if you ever needed to ride the train into town, that would be an option. One thing I like about most Hampton Inns is that they have these pictures on the room number placard. So if you can't remember your room number, hopefully you can at least remember what's on the picture, like a gas pump or a boy riding a bike. Remember, I had to go from Alton to Zeigler on the morning of the eclipse, Monday the 8th, and that should take just a touch over 2 hours, according to Google Maps. But in actuality, it took almost 3 hours and 45 minutes. Fortunately, I had read some things online about the craziness that traffic would be, so I did allow double the normal amount of time, so I was okay. But the main reason was because of these traffic backups. It wasn't that traffic was apocalyptic or anything like that. It was because in every small town along the way, um, they would have a four-way stop. And normally that four-way stop might only have uh, 30, 40 cars an hour, but in this case it had 500 to 1,000 in an hour. And every single one of those cars has to come to a complete stop. So there was this constant kind of shuffle and contest to see if you could find an alternate route and take county roads and back roads. And people would get off a main road to a less main road to a less main road. So it was just very slow in traffic. And it was actually slightly slower on the way back to Alton at the end of it. There was at least one nasty car accident. Here's kind of sort of a picture of it, where a car got T-boned or something along those lines. On the way home, I briefly stopped at a cemetery. It was just as the sun was starting to set in the town of Marine, Illinois, and took this cool picture. Nothing significant about this grave, just I thought it was a cool picture. When I arrived in Alton, I ate my very late evening meal at a place called Johnson's Corner Restaurant. It's one of those local establishments where it kind of looks like a dive, but it has super good Google reviews, so you know it's probably good. And I almost didn't go in because it looked a little seedy, but I am glad that I did because it was really good. I had the tenderloin. I think it said something like, see what everyone's talking about. I'm like, oh, yeah, I see what everyone's talking about. This is a really good tenderloin. So that's a good place to eat. I would recommend it. Remember these? You don't see them very often anymore. Probably too many kids broke their arms and stuff. This is a park here in Zeigler, Illinois. Oh, and we got the super dangerous monkey bars over there too. Glad you can still find the good stuff now and then. So, Mr. Wadlow, we meet again. This is a statue honoring Robert Wadlow. He is considered widely to be the tallest man in modern recorded history. It's located right there in Alton on the campus of the Southern Illinois University School of Dentistry. It's a very beautiful setting. I've actually been there before twice, well, 3 times in my life, but twice since I started my YouTube channel. And I'll put a link to my original visit. But just seems like anytime I'm in Alton or pass through Alton, I have to make the pilgrimage to see the Robert Wadlow statue. It's just such a interesting statue, and it's in a very pretty location next to some old stone buildings. There's a chair that he used, well, a replica of a chair that he used that makes me look like a toddler. On the way back home, I took some back roads, and this is near the town of Hardin, Illinois, crossing the Illinois River. The path I took kind of hugged close to, not quite, the Mississippi River, and the Illinois River meets the Mississippi very close to this point. I kind of regret taking the back roads because it did slow me down a bit, but I do like bridges. So I got to see this cool one, which has a lift segment. I stopped in Quincy, Illinois for a late lunch, ate at a place called On the Rail. Good cheeseburger. The service was, it was okay. It seemed like maybe they were a little distracted. There was only like 2 or 3 customers in the whole place, and they were kind of busy going about their pre-supper tasks, but I'd still give it 4 to 4.5 stars out of 5. While in Quincy, I also drove around very briefly and stopped at a place called the People's Choice Thrift Store. They did have a small section with some used records. This is the kind I look for. A section like this, just old garage sale records. And the one that I picked up that was the real winner of the group was this uh, Merle Haggard's Greatest Hits record, which has a couple songs I really like. I saw this one in there too, and it looked pretty interesting. Didn't buy it. The last stop was Ottumwa, Iowa, right along the path. And this is my hometown, the town that I grew up in. So I wanted to do a lot of reminiscing and exploring. Unfortunately, it was getting dark about the time I got there, and I didn't have a lot of time. So it had to be kind of a short stop, whirlwind reminiscing. This is the house that I grew up in, and my parents lived there until 2020, and their health declined, and they moved to the Des Moines area to be closer to me, and have since sold it, but the house still exists. This is the church I grew up attending, North Court Baptist Church. And you see that diagonal line? That's kind of important. Hard to explain, and I probably won't, but my friends will know what it means. The church was on the west, and you turn around and faced east, and there's my elementary school, Horseman Elementary School, Ottumwa, Iowa. And what's interesting is in fifth or sixth grade for Earth Day, we planted 3 trees right along the fence line close to the church. And at some point, they have built a basketball court. So they tore out those 3 trees that we planted for Earth Day to put in a basketball court. Thanks. And this is my parents' tombstone. They're both still alive, but they have a tombstone in Ottumwa, even though they live in the Des Moines area. So anytime I go down, they want me to check on the grave and just make sure everything's okay with it. And then I got home and returned the car to the rental car place, Enterprise. And there's a picture of that. I hope you enjoyed that. And if you want to know how I used credit cards, points, miles, and cash back to pay for this trip and others like it, you can check out my main channel, Dugras Reports, when I do a breakdown of this particular trip and how I paid for it. I will put a link either up in the corner or the description box or a pinned comment. Please like, please subscribe. And as always, may your spending be frugal and may your points be plenteous. Thanks.